someone who's making a difference.
We should make a difference, Ellie.
How
are we going to make a difference?
By having a good night's sleep.
Having a good night's sleep. We're very tired. Hey, Ellie.
Hey there, Andrew.
We're talking in slightly hushed tones, aren't we?
We are, yeah. We've done something a bit silly.
We've forgotten to record the podcast intro until the last possible moment. So it's currently midnight. And we're in a premiering room in Harrogate, where we've just done a touring performance of Showstopper the Improvised Musical, and we're recording this intro whilst keeping our voices at an appropriate level for the other people sleeping in this hotel.
Absolutely, they've all paid their money too.
Exactly. It should be pointed out they paid a very reasonable price.
Absolutely. So thank you, Premier Inn. Shout out to Premier Inn Harrogate.
Good night's sleep guaranteed. Do you think they still do that? I don't know if they do.
Well, I think they should.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to have one.
Would you complain if you didn't have a good night's sleep? And try and claim the money back.
You know how much of a people pleaser I am, so probably not. We actually talked this evening about that I'm such a people pleaser that when someone gave me a skydive for my birthday, I jumped out of the plane saying, what was your brilliant...
I don't want to appear ungrateful!
Which is pretty much to the letter exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And these experiences make us who we are.
We just did a show called I Love Harris at the Harrogate Theatre. The setting was a medical dilemma and romance in the Outer Hebrides.
I feel like we delivered that.
Yeah.
That amazing triumvirate was there.
The amazing triumvirate of dilemma, romance and the Outer Hebrides.
If that was a Venn diagram, Showstopper would be right in the middle.
With impeccable accent work throughout.
Absolutely. We've got an amazing guest on for this month's podcast.
Yes, we have. We've got the wonderful Reuben Kaye, star of cabaret and drag and musical theatre. He's amazing.
He really is. What an absolute talent train.
Talent, I like that.
Get on
board the talent train.
Get on board. Yeah. Get on board with Reuben Kaye because you're going to have a great night.
This episode was recorded backstage in the West End before one of our West End shows. Duncan Walsh Atkins was on keys, and we were joined by guest showstopper Justin Brett.
Have a great time listening to it.
We'll be asleep.
Goodbye.
Welcome, Reuben Kaye.
Welcome, so good to have you.
It's so much fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
How long have you been in the UK now, Reuben? It's been an extended visit.
Has been. I've been here since July 26th. So yeah, you've had me for about just off 2 months, which is nice.
And does that feel like a long one?
I think any time in Britain feels like a long time. It is very nice to be here for this country's final season.
Yeah,
I don't think it's getting renewed next year, right? Mm-hmm. I just think there's more we could do. It's been lovely. It's been through Edinburgh, through the Soho season. We just did our big show at the Clapham Grand on Saturday night, and it is Monday, so still recovering. Recovering in many ways.
Great.
I don't know how rude can we go on this podcast?
Maybe like 14 plus.
Great. There are many passages in the human body that aren't meant to be two-way streets, but we give them a red hot go. I think that's where we'll sit it at, and they can do a Google if they need.
Very good.
Great. Yeah.
That was a very good pitch
test.
test.
Hovering over the dump button. The dump button.
We should also mention a celebratory fact of today's podcast is that Justin Brett is with us.
Hooray!
Here he is, the
Hello.
showstopper himself.
I hoorayed my own self.
Well, good for you.
That's what I do.
Yeah, positivity. We like
I
it.
think people should hooray themselves more often.
I think we should advocate for ourselves. I certainly think in the theatre industry that's something that performers don't necessarily get to do very often. So
Very true.
Well done turning that offhand comment into a very serious point.
Oh, look, I think it's one of the big things that we don't teach kids when they're growing up in musical theatre college or in theatre colleges, that the majority of their life will be spent in many ways without
a job.
Without a job, and therefore they have to be able to make their own work, which is why something like Showstopper is so brilliant, because it allows that to happen, allows them to dip their foot into that. And you've actually created something that now has a completely legitimate life. You know what I mean? And that's certainly something that's affected my career as well.
Yeah, for sure. And isn't it nice to think that nowadays kids aren't necessarily taught that they are their job? When I started doing musical theatre back in the day, I very much felt like my job was my whole personality. If I wasn't working, I was failing as a human being. And now I very much feel different to that. And I think the world is changing for the better.
Do you think that having something like Showstopper has assisted that kind of confidence and that realization, because you've got legitimacy in a field that is outside the mainstream hierarchical nature of musical theatre?
Yes, I really do. And I think that transition for me was an eye-opening experience where I really felt, because of the nature of it as well, the ownership over the work. I'm in a fortunate position where I'm the movement director of the company as well, so it's very creatively reassuring. And I feel like, my personality is in the show.
You picked up a really interesting term there, which is creatively reassuring. And I don't know if the current musical theatre industry necessarily allows for that to happen to performers once they're outside of work. And that's one of the things that having my own work, making my own work, and being, let's be honest, one of the lucky ones where that work has ascended and kept me going, has given me a sense of creative reassurance, which then feeds into a case of perspective and knowing, okay, I'm not my work, I'm not desperate, and my career is not based on me waiting for someone else's approval, like a casting director, an audition panel, etc., which then leaves me no real fuel to creatively reassure myself.
I struggle with that. I've been in the business for a long, long time, but I sort of had a year in a show in town, and I found that very stifling. I'm not knocking being in the West End, because we are in the West End now.
Of course.
But there is something about being in a show, and you're part of a machine, and you might be stepping into a show that somebody else has already created that role, and then you're kind of then as an artist, as a professional artist, you're then questioning, what is my value here, and why am I doing this?
My first contract was as Magaldi in the Ken Wright tour of Evita, and I was a fill-in for an actor who come to the end of their contract, and I was stepping in, and that was a really, to be honest, I just felt it was a really shocking and upsetting time, and I had an awful time on the contract, and you're right, it was absolutely stifling, and to be honest, there was such a young group of graduates, and they were treated like children by the creative team. And they looked up to the creative team so much because, of course, they were so beholden that if you treat them like kids, they will act like kids. And the whole thing was just this weird high school playground vibe, and I just loathed it. So I really veered off musical theatre after that, and one of the instigators of me creating my own work. But now I'm in this position where I'm about to go back into musical theatre as Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah. It's the Timothy Shearer production that's going to Australia. And it's interesting because I'm coming into it as, in essence, I'm being stunt cast, right? Because I have a bigger profile in Australia. There was controversy with a joke I made on TV there about Jesus that created a lot of controversy. So there's a bit of leverage off that, hey, that's what showbiz partly is. They're just kind of, I think they're very happy that I also have a skill set that means I can actually do the role. But there's
Reuben Kaye, friend of the Daily Mail.
That's me.
Yeah.
And they're so good to me. But I'm also coming into it going, okay, what is this going to be like now from this position? I have a lot more, let's be honest, power in this. I've been able to look at the costume. I've been able to take, these are my ideas for the character. I can really talk to people like I'm a creative equal. And I haven't found that to be necessarily true in musical theatre prior to that, when I've been an actor. Sure. You're not a creative equal. No. You're a foot soldier.
Having said that, is that maybe part of the journey of getting there, of your growth, is having to take those knocks and having to do those,
I guess you don't know what you don't want until you've experienced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is just par for the course. And when you're coming up, when it's your first gigs, you're not... you're going to have to, as you say, take the knocks and things. I've just never been very good at taking knocks or direction, to be honest. Or being told what to do.
Who works with you on your shows, Reuben, in that respect?
Everyone refuses to.
You're not wrong.
Sorry that I don't know that about you, but do you work with a director on like K-Hole or Live and Intimidating?
No.
You're making all of that yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I work with Shannon Whitelock, who is my musical director, and he co-writes the songs, he does the music for me.
Your band is tight, man. It's so good.
Well, that's Shannon. Shannon is a musical theatre director, but was taking a break from musical theatre because he, like me, was a bit anti the system, and I was the first gig, literally from a Facebook ad. It was like, this guy wants a MD for his tour. This seems like it'll be fun. We met in Perth. I flew him to Perth. We met in the in Perth, first time, had a rehearsal, went, this isn't going to last long, because he's a very different person to me.
Okay.
Very organised, very quiet, very thoughtful. I am none of those things. I'm very sort of big and everything's at the front, and very instinctive. And Shannon really likes to assess a situation and then go, okay, here's the best course of action. I've already thought of all of the different angles. And he said, this isn't going to last long, in his head. And we're in this tiny little 70-seater called the Shambles in Perth. And it was boiling hot, just a wooden weatherboard, little kind of temporary space. And we did the first night. It was like 60 people in, and it was standing ovation. And we both kind of looked at each other and went, okay. And then by the 10th performance, they were packing 120 people in. People were hanging from the rafters and sitting in the aisles. And we're just going, oh, this is something. And Shannon's concept and Shannon's drive is that he understands that I have the chaos element, and that chaos can really only work with music if the band is so tight. So tight, because then the audience knows they're in safe hands and they feel so assured that I can actually push the chaos further. He actually gives the weight of the equilibrium. I don't know if that metaphor kind of makes through, but it's true. It's the balance of that, the crazy and the tightness.
We have a technique in Showstopper called Silly plus Sensible, where we're always like walking this line of towards which one are we, and if it tips too far one way, then we need to try and bring it back so that we don't lose the crowd.
Yes.
Because you want to deliver a story that's engaging and feels real, but at the same time we're billed as a comedy show, right? So it's like trying to get that balance right all the time, like you say.
Does Showstopper have a directorial eye? Does it one person, or does it shift between all of you?
2 co-directors, Adam Megiddo and Dylan Emery.
Right.
Movement direction is Ali James. I'm associate director, and we've got a musical director in Duncan Walsh Atkins. So it's like quite a formal creative structure.
Occasionally I get a third eye, or I'll do... So for the last show we made, the one before Live and Intimidating, which was called Apocalyptic, it was so narrative-based. It's camp, isn't it?
It's great.
It's about my uncle who was in... he was born in East Berlin and was a clown and a bank robber in
What a
East
story.
Berlin. Nuts. Fantastic. Amazing story. And a great kind of allegory for personal freedoms, lives in captivity, hyper-surveillance, all of those sort of occupied territories, all very prescient for now. For that, I did something which I didn't realise all my other friends who were creators had been doing. I just thought they'd been torturing themselves in their rooms all alone all these days. And I didn't realise they had done this. I got all of my friends who were creators and writers who I loved and respected, and all of them great at different things with different eyes, and some of them were on Zoom. So it was maybe like 10 people, and I just sat down in a room and read them the entire vomit script. And like the difference between a vomit script and a type thing, all the vomit script. And I told them to make notes and raise hands when they got bored.
Right.
So going there, and I was like, great, bored, great, okay, great. And played the songs to them. And then took all of their feedback and then kept on going away and cutting and cutting and cutting. There's a great writer, Eve Blake, who wrote Fangirls, which is on Lyric Hemisphere.
Yeah.
She has a great triangle of creativity when she starts. She makes a triangle and she talks about your tiny screams, which are the micros, your big screams, which are your macros, and then what do you want the show to look like? I.e., I want it to look like a Pink concert with a touch of East Berlin, something like that. So the minute you have an aesthetic and your big subjects, your big headlines, and the tiny little bits, and then you can just start working with whatever fits into those, which I think is really useful.
And that's an exercise in construction, I guess, actually.
Yeah. And I come from 2 script writers who are my mum and my stepdad, and a visual artist, my dad. So they've always been pretty hard on structure, my parents, even though I'm not very good at structure. So my house is full of Post-its, and the walls are full of Post-its with sort of act 1, mini acts within the act, and what is this, and what's the turn here, and what's the scene, and all in verticals.
Do you want to be in Showstopper? Just putting that out there, because we do loads of like narrative work. It would be so great to have your thoughts on that.
You're talking about Post-its everywhere. Just Ali James just went Post-it notes.
Yeah, I'm just such a fan of Post-its.
Well, it's so interesting. I think what you guys do is so magical, because it's really about trusting each other to share and trusting each other to carry and throw and catch. And I have spent so long just being the one person and knowing and holding all the strings and knowing where the audience is going and kind of doing all that myself, that doing it, what you guys do is so magical to me, because it displays a great sense of confidence and vulnerability as two sides of the same coin to be able to do. I think it's so magical.
And it never goes wrong. And egos never come into it.
I actually saw something happen to you once, Reuben, on stage. It's a tiny thing, but you handled it so gracefully. Was your in-ear monitors came out and they were like hanging down your back, and you just called it and you brought the audience in on it, and it was just so, and you made some hilarious joke about it, and it was like everything just felt so real and so raw and vulnerable in that sense, because you do quite a bit of improv with the audience, or at least it comes across that you are responding to who's really there with you that night.
I'm a firm believer in something that was given to me by a writer called James Kettle, which is lean into the problem. Lean into the problem. Don't try and cover the problem unless there are sometimes they go, okay, 1 second, I can get this done. But if there's something like that, I can't stop this. They're going to see this. Lean into it because they want to see the problem. They can see it already. They're thinking, how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with it? There's so much of drag, which is polished and boom and bang and perhaps aggressive and sometimes a little cruel if you've seen older drag, which is something I never want to be. I want to have this new style of drag where it's incredibly funny, it's incredibly fierce, it's incredibly sharp-tongued, but there has to be an urge to repair. There has to be a kindness. There has to be a vulnerability to it. So I'll always bring the audience in, and they have to feel like they're at once at the MCG or the Palladium. MCG is the Australian Stadium. They have to feel like they're at the Palladium and also in my living room. Or partially in the toilet cubicle with me. So to get them to kind of go, can you just, Doll, can you get this? We're all family here. Yeah. Because we are all family, no matter what you are, whether you're straight, you're gay, you're black, you're white, you're able, you're disabled, we're all in the room. We're all family in that space. And that's something I want to really engender. And as for improvising with the crowd, you've got to go with what they give you. And it's a combination between the humanity of going, I hear you, I see you, I've got you, and then knowing sometimes divine inspiration strikes and you just get a great line. John Robertson from Darkroom is brilliant at that. But also it is about just having your Rolodex, having your little catalogue, your deck. Sometimes I call it the shuffle, because you're there, and even though this is happening, the sub-level of your subconscious is going, right, what have I got, 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 what have I got? And that's happening the minute I get out on stage. It's one of the reasons I love doing the pre-show. I'm in the room inviting people in. It's like, okay, this person's here, this person's here, this person's here. Oh, this person's got a cardigan that matches this gag. Oh, this person's got this on. Oh, this person's with this part of their family and this. Oh, I've got a joke for that. So I can, in a sense, preload the deck a little bit.
But new stuff must come up as well. Like
all the time.
There's that whole, we have a thing about being kind of, you have a writer's brain on a bit and you're kind of fast writing and also just going with what you're getting in your face.
I think because when you're so comfortable with what you're doing and you know that you're safe, right? Because you've got your deck and you've got your band and you're in the flow, right? And you're only in the flow when you've had all the practice. That's when you feel safe enough to bounce a little higher on the trampoline so that divine inspiration can strike. So that the new thing just goes, oh, this happened. Oh, great.
I want to ask, how has your style developed over time? I used to do a lot of stand-up and was quite aggressive, and I've done panto a lot. I do Dame in panto a lot, and my Dame used to be very kind of like, a bit acerbic. And now, for me, it's always about how can I elevate the audience and how can I, if I pick on someone, it's a fun thing.
Which is funny because you're such an aggressive person in every way.
Absolutely.
If there's anything this waistcoat with suns and moons says on it, it says aggression.
Yeah. Anyway, skin up. So how is it? Do you know what I mean? Were you kind of more...
Yeah, I think it's a big mistake that performers often do. It's a big temptation once you're in drag to be cruel. I think it's a defense mechanism for a lot of queer and gay men especially, have been the perpetrators of misogyny, of treating lesbians like they're somehow less than, of treating bi men or bi people like they're not really part of the queer umbrella, like they're greedy, or treating straight men like they are guilty before any other judgment. And these are all tropes that I don't think really serve us anymore. And look, I believe that if you're going to read someone, if you're going to pick on someone, they have to want to be picked on. They have to know that there's love and kindness in the room because they have to be able to laugh at it themselves.
Even the term pick on sounds a little bit kind of, maybe there's another phrase for it that's a little.
And it used to be a lot about socioeconomic thing. Used to be, oh, look at what you're wearing. Oh, you've come from a very poor neighbourhood. Or, was the caravan on fire when you got dressed this morning? Or all that kind of thing. And it just doesn't, I don't think it's what I'm sure it still works. There are audiences that still love it.
It's a bit eggy, especially now with the cost of living. Yeah. It's like, come on, and also it's expensive to go to see a show.
Do you know when we picked on for being poor when you forked out cash to see someone? Like you paid good money to see you and you're going to make fun of them because they're...
Also, guys, have you seen the price of caravans now?
Correct.
It's insane.
I saw one going for $3 million.
It's mad.
In America. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think I definitely was more, not aggressive, angry. I think I was angry and meaner. And I'm still aggressive. I believe that queer rage is sort of a great engine for change. Everyone talks about queer joy. I think queer joy is the accessory. It's the result of, it's the reward. It's the private thing you hold here. But queer rage is the engine of change. It's the motivator. So there should be, and most comedy, I think, the best comedy comes from anger. That's so fascinating to me. That's what are you angry about? Now, how can you make it fun for everyone in the room? So I'm still aggressive and angry, but through kindness, through finding intelligence, through really talking about the topics, that anger is not outwardly pointed at the audience.
Well, you punch up very much.
Well, it's about collecting the collective anger of the audience and unifying it with yours and then focusing it out to the world.
Making it one story,
It's about making the family and letting everyone know that although I look so different, I'm so othered, I'm so fabulous, I'm so tall, I'm so girl with the lashes and the makeup and stuff, that I'm also your son. I'm also your brother. I could be your father. I'm you. I am you. You are me. Which is really, I think, powerful.
Going back even further in time to little Reuben.
Oh, dear me.
Flashback. Did you always know you were going to do something creative growing up, as you say, with creatives around the household?
To answer that question, where is it?
For those of you listening on the radio, this image is in black and white.
Oh, I'm seeing the most extraordinary picture of little Reuben, one hand over his head in an incredible costume.
Me recreating Carmen when I was, I want to say maybe
fierce.
7.
I say fierce.
Amazing.
The look on the face is, I am a Spanish lady and this accent is suspicious.
The commitment is high.
Yeah. It's real good. Yeah, there's another one, right?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, can you imagine like in 80s Australia, early 90s Australia? So yeah, I always knew. My brother and I are both very creative people. He's an amazing writer. He's one of those creative people that really could have been anything. He's an agent for opera singers now, but in his youth he was a pastry chef. He was this, he was that, he was this. He was an opera singer, he was a countertenor. And I was one of those kids that didn't want to be told what to do, but I had so much energy and so much passion to do something that my mum was desperately trying to find things for me. And the one thing I wanted to do was the one I showed no aptitude in, which was singing. And I truly was tone deaf.
Really?
That's unbelievable.
No.
Outrageously so. Ask my friends in high school who I'm still friends with now, they were all in the music department and they would play games like, Reuben, sing this note, la, and just wait. And I go, and they're like, what? And it was...
How is that the case? You have got pipes, man. How is that the case?
I couldn't hold a tune.
How did you transform? What happened?
Same as my contraception, prayer. I wouldn't shut up. And my grade 6 choir teacher said to me, when I auditioned for the choir to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and she said, oh, your voice is out of tune. Don't sing. You won't be a singer. Right. And I was like, well, I think you're wrong, which is what I think about most things when people tell me things. Yeah. You're wrong. And I wouldn't stop. And my mum's like, okay, we've got to find this kid a singing teacher because he won't shut up. So we went to maybe 4 singing teachers and all of them said, too hard basket, no. And then we found this one amazing teacher in Melbourne called Kate Sadler, who really does sort of believe in the anyone can do anything school, which normally I would be a bit cynical of, but not when it applies to me. And her husband was Brian Stacey, who was one of Melbourne's most prolific music director of all the big shows that came. And tragically died in a motorcycle accident on his way to conduct the press night of Sunset Boulevard. I'm pretty sure it was Sunset Boulevard. Fact check me if I'm wrong. I'm so sorry, Kate. But she's a brilliant, brilliant teacher, and she just sat there and said, okay, you're going to learn to sing a scale. Here's a C. Hit it. No. Again, and through just like exercises and letting me sit in her choir, and I had to sit with the basses and just sit next to the keyboard and listen and not sing and work on the material with her privately until she said, you can now start singing, and then move to the baritones.
Wow.
And then start the whole process again. So stop singing, listen, work with me at the material privately, and then sing, and now you can move to the tenors. Yeah, she really turned me round. And that's now when everyone says, oh, I can't sing, I can't hold a tune. I go, no, you will be able to. You just have to want to. It's a muscle. It's a muscle and a connection from your ear to this muscle.
Sure.
Yeah.
It just gets mystified too much. So yeah, anyone who ever thinks that they can't hold a tune or they can't sing, you can. It's in you. It's innate. It's human. It's the first primal
I love
thing.
that, Reuben. And it reminds me of the quote on your website about Reuben Kaye is what happens if your parents tell their kids they can be anything. And I just think that's so wonderful, like so open and just
And I guess
enjoy life and do what you want.
That's the part of it. You want to have this. You want to have this idea of aspirational brilliance, right? Oh my God, the status of Reuben Kaye, the person is so high, and then to be able to say the ladder is open. Come on up. Every one of you could be like this. Your lower back will hurt and you'll have glue in your eyes for days, but it's fabulous up here. Like that's the energy, right? And that goes into sort of the bacchanalian kind of the sexual liberation of it, the politics of it, the socialism, all of that. It goes, come on in. Yeah.
It's great that you've got this massive, wonderful persona, and then it's very disappointing to meet you in person, to be fair.
Isn't it just?
Really?
Isn't it?
Ouch.
It's interesting. No, because you're not wrong. There is an element. But
Justin was saying that as a joke. Let me clarify.
I'm not taking it as such. A lot of people are accustomed to performers like me who who have a different aesthetic appearance than off stage, right? And they look at it and they go, oh, well, is it a character? What is it? A lot of TV people or a lot of people go, oh, well, this is a character. What's the real Reuben like? And the true answer is, I don't think it's a character. I think it's an amplification. It's an amplification of all of my best parts and my worst parts. It's me 3 drinks in, right? It's just a bit louder and almost because
And well fit though, right?
Yeah.
and well fit and available at reasonable prices.
We came to see the K-Hole, was it
Oh,
last year, wasn't
God.
it? And I was like, you were totally my friend's crush. Like,
Yes.
we were like, oh my God, yeah, it was so great.
It is very nice. It's kind of very interesting because also I think for me when I was growing up, I had such a rough time at school. I didn't really have a good time at uni. So for me, what Reuben Kaye on stage has done is not just amplify all my best and worst bits, it's helped me come into my own sexuality, my own power, my own confidence, because it's creatively reassured me. And I don't know if that would have happened if I'd continued in legitimate theatre, because again, that funnels you in so many ways that divorce you from your own. There's not a lot of self-soothing in that. And this has been this amazing self-soothing thing. And it's in many ways, it's amplified, it's allowed me to speak, advocate for myself louder and give me more confidence.
And others, actually. Like, it's quite like your material is pretty empowering.
That's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes something people miss, that if you empower others, the byproduct of that is it empowers you.
I think a lot of listeners might be familiar with you from that amazing viral video you made with Channel 4, where you went into primary school and you had this series of interviews with kids. You're dressed in drag. Some of them, it's the first time they've ever seen someone in drag, and you get their very honest reactions. And by the end of the video, it's really quite moving, isn't it?
There was many times where we had to just stop so I could go, okay, I just need a moment. Yep, good, continue on. But you can't like show that because the kid's sitting there, right? This one little girl asked me this question, and he got it on camera, and my reaction was to deflect and kind of go, but inside I really had this spiral moment because I wasn't expecting it. This beautiful little girl said, if you had a choice, would you be gay or not gay? And I didn't have an answer because in all my years, I don't think I'd ever been asked that. I don't think I'd ever been faced that question before. But I had had moments in my life where I'd gone, why am I like this? Why was I born like this? If anything, can I please be anything else? Why is my life so hard because of this? Because I was, because. And because of the wonderful things he does. And she asked me this. And it really was this moment going, oh, geez, I don't have an answer for this. Wow. And I don't know if the answer I would give instinctively would be the thing that should be said on TV. So luckily I was just like, have you ever met a gay person before? Here's some confetti more. But inside I cried the sad tears of a cloud. Just like this 4-year-old girl is shot to the heart of me.
Wow.
Kids are so profound like that, aren't they? When we do our Showstopper Kids show, their ability to tell a story, so it's slightly different to the adult show.
I didn't know you did Showstopper Kids shows.
Oh, it's so
genius.
funny.
That's genius.
Honestly, it's hilarious. We get all the suggestions from the kids, so we don't do any story work. It's like hands-off story for us. We just do literally exactly what they say. But their ability to reincorporate and to bring back, like so often they'll be like, and now it's the low point in so many words. You know, they have such a great idea about structure.
We never need to direct them or moralise or do anything because they just do it all themselves.
One of the kids just said, oh, and now everybody dies. And Andrew just went, okay. And we all died. And then you turned out to the audience just went, now what? And it was just great. And they just worked it out. Yeah. They worked out. I can't remember what the solution was.
Everyone had exploded. And I think the goo from everyone having exploded, like, joined together into a new being. I think it was one of those.
You Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Essentially,
You T-1000.
Yeah.
Into like the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Captain Planet of you all.
Imagine that.
I've got one more question before we go into our game.
Oh,
which is
exciting.
We're going back into musical theatre with Herod. Are there any other shows that you're desperate to do? Is there a part you desperately would love to play?
So many. I would love to do Frankenfurter, but I personally think the show needs to be rejigged.
Yeah.
I just think it's where it was and what it was in what it was pushing against. Those boundaries have all changed now.
Yeah.
I think the aesthetic of it should also be changed to go beyond, just push further. I would have loved to have done Dorian Gray, the one-man Dorian Gray, one-person Dorian Gray. Would have loved to have done that. In musical theatre, look, when I'm older, for sure, all the Sondheim I would love to do. I would love to do Sweeney Todd when I'm older. Yeah. When I'm older, my voice has settled lower. But apart from that, all the other big camp roles, they're sort of all done in a lot of costume. My lower back, I don't know if I could do Scar on a matinee with that thing on my head. There's probably tons of amazing roles that I'd love to do. Sort of the Act 1 homosexual would be great. Like Magaldi. I'd love to do Magaldi again.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great role to do. I'd love to do it now at the appropriate age for Magaldi as opposed to when I did it when I was, 20, 26.
Wow.
Too young. Bobby from Company would be great to do, if they don't mind 5 extra years on the casting. But yeah, things like that would be really gorgeous.
Right.
Fiddler would be wonderful.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I just saw the Regent's Park one. I'm just frothed 100 miles a minute. Loved it.
To the brink.
Would love to do cabaret, MC eventually. Yeah, all of those roles really.
Great. Let's make that happen.
Okay,
Great
let's.
So we're going to play a little game now to do with musical theatre. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to work together to something-ify a musical, okay? For example, I might ask you to punctuatify a musical, and some examples would be Dear Evan Ampersand or Little Shop of Commas.
Funny.
Great.
Okay?
Okay.
So the first one is coldify a musical.
Frozen. It's all right, that's against the rules.
Can I say this? I was sharing a theatre with Frozen. They were in the big space and I was in the slightly smaller space doing my show. And I got to do all this fun stuff, but I would tell you what, I snorted half the set before I realised it was real snow.
Andrew, I'm going to give you that one because it's the first question and I feel like you deserve easing in.
But nobody dies in the first round.
Nobody dies in the first round.
And you're all working together anyway, so let's just keep it nice and friendly, everyone. Okay, so question 2 is wetify a musical. Make a musical wet.
Sunday in the Park with Engorged.
Oh, it's there. Very good.
Wet Side Story is.
Oh,
very nice.
Very good.
Dribbler on the roof.
Oh, come on. This is great.
That feels like I'm edging towards a slightly adult edge of this. and I think
14
we should-
plus.
The Lion's
It's 14
Spring.
plus.
Oh,
nice.
that's delicious.
It was
Cute.
sweet.
That's
Yeah.
lovely.
Very nice. So this one is make it scarier. Make a musical scarier.
Little Shop of More Horrors.
Yes.
West Side Ghost Story.
West Side Ghost
Very nice.
yeah,
And Andrew, you're really on the West Side Story ones here, which is excellent.
Instead of hair, scare.
Oh,
Great.
brilliant.
Very
Instead
good.
of cats, cuts.
Oh.
Crazy for Boo.
Okay, we're on the train, everyone. Okay, so number 4 is dress up a musical.
Oh.
Dress up a musical.
Yeah.
The Frocky Horror Show.
Oh, yes, that's a great one. Any other offers?
Dear Evan Gladson.
Oh, that's nice.
That's good. Yeah, very nice. I had come a bund from away.
Like it.
I did have pre time to plan though. So okay, so make a musical edible.
Cassoulet.
Cassoulet.
Oh, very good.
Cassoulet.
Okay, that's it.
Cassoulet. Sunday in the Pork with George.
Yeah. Now make it drinkable.
Cabaret Sauvignon.
Very good, Andrew.
Cabaret.
Yes,
Sauvignon.
we all heard it. Thank you. Okay,
Right.
very good.
Instead of company, Campari.
Yes.
It's very civilized. It's very sophisticated.
Nice. Les Fizz.
Les Fizz.
Make it bigger or smaller.
More cats.
Very good.
Fewer cats.
Good.
Done.
Done.
Can you think of any?
Oh, Phantom of the Operetta.
Oh,
Very nice.
Very
yeah.
classy.
Kittens.
Love that.
Kittens.
Kittens.
Kittens. Very nice. Question 8. Animal it.
The problem is with these things is all I've got in my head, because you said it first, is Dear Evan Hansen, and that's all that's going
good.
around
Yeah.
my
Oh,
head.
so you do have
Dear
to.
Evan. I said that.
Here we go.
You landed on your feet there, Reuben.
D-E-R.
Very
Fiddler
good.
on the Hoof.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's very good.
So merge it with a movie is the final question.
Merge a musical with a music.
Yeah. For example, Operation Mincemeat the Fockers.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cabaret. As in the biopic of Ray.
Yeah.
Great.
Two cats, too furious.
Very good.
Top hat / gun.
Yes, very
Oh,
nice.
top hat / gun. That's lovely.
It's been successful all round, I'd say.
Great.
Very,
We're all
very
winners.
good. We're all winners here. I think we should do the quiz like this every time, Andrew, where everyone wins.
But then I don't always get the opportunity to come out on top.
No,
I
that's
see.
true.
That's true. Circling back to
I
what we
didn't say
spoke
anything.
about at
No,
the
I didn't
beginning.
say
I didn't say anything.
We were all waiting for it.
No, sometimes you throw the ball and the joy is knowing when to let that bounce on the ground. I know you told me it was a 16 plus podcast.
He said 14, actually, but you just nudged it up.
Just,
to.
well, I'm not saying anything.
I set him up.
feel like I can't say anything.
I'm just laying traps for you, mate. That's,
You are, and I'm not falling into this. Is this a tribunal, actually?
I'm going to have a lot of work in the
Look
edit
at
room,
that,
is all
holes
I'm gonna say.
everywhere.
Stop
Waiting
it.
for Reuben.
Stop it.
What?
Reuben,
Yes.
would you like to make up a song with us?
Sure, let's go ahead. I've never done it before. I'm nervous.
Woohoo! Dream roles in musical theatre, please.
One dream, one role could be mine deep in my soul. One dream, one role before I go.
One dream, one role, one dream deep in my soul. Oh, what I could show.
And it's waiting for me, it's waiting for me, it's out there for all to see. It's waiting for me, my dream role. It's waiting for me, it's waiting for me, it's out there for all the world to see. It's waiting for me, my dream role.
For any dame, for any fella, could it be me, covered to Grisabella?
I always fancied myself as Audrey, 'cause I was looking so down and tawdry, and I wanted to shop in that little shop.
And I know it could be much better if I was out there playing Frankenfurter. guess the show I wanna do. It's waiting for me, waiting for me. It's out there for all the world to see. It's waiting for me, my dream role. One more time, it's waiting for me, it's waiting for me. It's out there for all the world to see. It's waiting for me, my dream waiting for me.
The Showstopper podcast is hosted by Ali James, Andrew Pugsley. This month's guest was me, Reuben Kaye, and the Showstopper guest was Justin Brett. Duncan Walsh Atkins was on keys. It was mixed and edited by Andrew Pugsley. Production support from Susanna Rosenthal, Jenny, Amy, Kaylin, Kine, and Ellie Grice. For something for the weekend, find us all on the social channels and our website, www.showstopperthemusical.com. Thanks for listening.